Live!
Flash.
We are live! Cool, hello!
Hi.
Hello, and
Should we redistribute
welcome
the stream link?
to TKB Live. Yeah, so we're just gonna sort things out because we had something real cool planned, and that didn't work.
Nailed it.
Somebody is now watching us in the thing. We're gonna go for
How can I copy this
infinite
link?
loops.
There's the link.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and post the old link, the new link in the old stream.
Yeah, that's what I did last week or week before.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so, despite the technical difficulties,
You are a blur.
I am.
We've got at least one in the chat.
Hello, Nixon. Welcome to the stream. We're just gonna get everybody over from what was meant to be the stream. And I'm also gonna fix the camera a little bit because
It's strong.
oh, oh. Oh well, we tried.
Oh no, the link!
Stop it.
You need to turn your sound off.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Have we let people know where the actual show is yet?
Okay. It's okay.
Hey, Will.
People are coming in. People are coming in.
We have people arriving. We still proved that we cannot get technology to work in our favor. Alec and I tried very valiantly, and we had good emotional support from the rest of the team, but it was not enough.
Alas, poor York. I knew him well.
Yeah, so next time I'm in Bristol, we'll do something real cool and exciting and fancy, but today is not that day. Tomorrow's not that day either.
But we have each other.
We have each other. So, welcome to TKB Live. We are back. I think we're in the mid-teens of episodes at this stage. And
We've been going for ages.
It's been going for a while. We played the Brotherhood Open.
Are we? Do we have people here yet? We usually have a game first. Are you taking away our game? Daniel, we gotta wait for some people to show up. I have a card and you're gonna have to guess it now. You back down.
This is
You
the
back
entire
down.
road trip home.
And it will continue.
This is what happens if you try and strip my game from TKB Live.
Yeah. Tom will riot, confirmed.
The riot has already begun.
I hear complaints, but no questions.
I think this is a case about stuff.
Is it a monster cardle?
It is a monster card.
Is it people running about?
It is not people running about. Be more careful with your questions. We are the people running about.
Wait, so we just need the other two?
Oppressed people and silent revolution?
I don't know. Why would I know?
You know people running about.
Because why would I not know people running about? Duh.
It's my favorite thing to do, says Alec. Sitting in the same cage since every day.
Okay, you've used two questions. One of them perhaps foolishly.
I feel like it was an important
Okay.
one to exclude early.
Is it a monster card you can draw?
It is a monster card you can draw. It is in the main deck.
Yes.
Level 4 or lower.
It is level 4 or lower. That's 4 questions and you're a lot closer.
Okay.
The first two were a rocky start, but you're getting somewhere.
Is
now.
it
Level 2 or lower.
It is not level 2 or lower.
Okay.
5 questions down.
Is it light and or dark?
It is not light and or dark. 6 questions in.
Is it fire or water?
It is fire or water.
Everything is fire or water now.
Is it fire?
It is fire!
So for context, we did this game in the car ride home last night.
We had like 5 in a row that were all fire. Because
I felt like I had to continue with it. It was going somewhere good.
the issue is when you daisy chain them, that everyone starts thinking about all the fire monsters, and then they're like, ooh, that would be a good one. And then they keep them themselves, and then that's the next one.
I feel like I got some real good hits in the car ride home. We had Lewis with us,
There was some powerful
and
intuition.
I sniped the Royal Firestorm Guards from a long way out.
So moving back
Is
to our
it
game.
itself part of an archetype?
It itself is not part of an archetype.
Okay. Does it have 2 or more effects?
It does not have 2 or more effects.
Okay, 0 or 1 effect. Has the card featured in a YCS topping deck list?
The card has featured in a YCS topping deck list. I think we're on 11 questions?
We're very good at keeping count.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously. Why would we not be?
Chat says Grand Maju.
Ooh.
Uh,
Ooh! Chat's been watching the streams.
I was like, that fits all our criteria so far.
Huh.
Does it have a continuous effect?
It does not have a continuous effect.
It's not Grand Maju.
F. Does it have an effect which Ash Blossom can be changed to?
You can chain Ash Blossom.
Okay.
It's 13 questions now.
Fire monsters.
Does its effect activate exclusively on the field?
Its effect does activate exclusively on the field.
Okay.
So it's fire.
6 questions remain.
Level 3 or 4
That's
can be asked.
Has it ever been on the FNL list?
It has ever been on the Forbidden
So,
Unlimited list.
I'm pretty sure it's Lone Fire at this point.
like I was gonna say.
That is a card Thomas played.
Yeah, the question I asked was activate on the field, didn't it?
Yep.
Mm.
And it has 1 effect. It is a level 3 fire monster.
And no fires have ever been banned. There are no good fire monsters.
Lone Fire has been on the FNL list.
It's been in a few places.
Yes.
Done the old roundabout loop-de-loop.
1 to 2 to 3 to 1. I don't even know anymore.
Does it have... How many questions are we at? 14?
You've got 6 questions remaining.
Is it level 3?
It is level 3.
Does it
Good
have
silver.
more defense points than it has attack points?
It has more defense
Okay.
points than it has attack points.
Wait, at this point I just wanna...
Does it have a cost to activate its effect?
It has a cost to activate.
Can we just say it's...
You're running out of questions here, boys.
Is it Lone Fire Blossom?
It's Lone Fire Blossom.
Okay.
Boys.
You get a point, but 2 points go to Joe Moran, who picked it up a few seconds before you said it.
Nailed it.
And that was
Good stream
even a
delay.
counting stream delay, so Joe Moran is our winner for today. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Immortalized forever.
The trophy's in the mail.
Hello and welcome, guys.
Yeah, so welcome everybody. TKB Live. We had something cool planned. Didn't quite work out, so we will try and get that sorted for another time. We have a television in front of us displaying what we wanted to share with you, but yeah, we will save it
Now
for
top
next time.
secret.
Top secret. Cannot tell. But yeah, so I mean, yesterday was basically the start of the competitive season for the UK and Ireland. The Brotherhood, which is one of the largest TOs in the UK and Ireland, one of our favourites, ran a 1k event. So there was 1,000 in prizes, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
for a non-regional event, that is...
For
wonderful.
a non-regional,
Yeah.
really
This was
good.
technically just the big locals.
Yeah, no one else does it in the UK, to my knowledge.
Yeah.
it's
So
just-
we drove 3 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours.
Alec drives past.
5 of us in a very small car. It was very comfortable.
Piled into the card D and got on our
Yep.
way.
So really nice road trip actually. But yeah, so we got to the venue. On Facebook, you can actually see our kind of discussions as the rounds progressed, how we were doing. We didn't get one in between round 6 and 7 because by the time we were all finished, the turnover was so quick. And then we didn't get one at the end because we were hungry. So it was having quite that McDonald's
Hunger
run
confirmed.
there.
We played 7 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh! And about 15 rounds of 20 questions.
8 rounds of Yu-Gi-Oh!
7
7
rounds of
rounds.
Yu-Gi-Oh!
There are only 7 rounds?
If
Yeah,
this
there
was
were only
7
7
rounds.
rounds.
It's advertised as 8 rounds.
No,
No,
it was
no,
never advertised as 8
Okay,
rounds.
I'm crazy.
Because it did not reach 129
But yeah, we
players.
did a lot of games in the car. We did the old how many vanilla monsters, excluding pendulums,
Except-
have featured in a YCS topping deck list, and
There are a fair few of
there are
them.
a lot. We came up with a lot of vanillas that we thought would be in topping deck lists. We just
Minimum 30.
yeah.
And
There's
like, even if you don't include any of the pendulums, at least 20.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them kicking about. We just had a fun road trip. Brought our friend Lewis, lives near us in Bristol. Yeah, it was a fun day out.
Yeah.
If you have an opportunity to check out Brotherhood events, make sure that you head over to London. Worth the trip. Like
Every time.
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, and they even mentioned they're going to be running regional hopefully in February.
Yes.
We will be at that event, and we would
Indeed.
highly recommend anybody who's in the UK area, even Irish players. Like London is pretty easy to get over to, and
Everywhere is easy to get to from Ireland.
everywhere is easy to get to from Dublin.
And London's
Um,
easy to get to from everywhere.
Yeah,
like last
exactly.
year we saw players coming in from Greece, from the Netherlands, from Germany. Like it had a huge draw. Like it's one of the biggest regionals even across all of Europe. So
And
worth traveling.
It's professionally run. The guys are really nice. Like atmosphere was good. There was no issues on the day. So that's what I want from a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. And there was good food available in the venue.
Oh yes.
So
Good cheap food
Just-
is always available at Brotherhood.
Everything about the event, always A+.
Okay, so enough gushing about the management and everything of the event. How was the tournament for everybody? So we'll start with Tom, then we'll go Seth, and then we'll go Alec.
Mhm.
I didn't play because I was recording, so you can find live recordings of 6 of the 7 rounds on our YouTube channel right now. But yeah, so Tom, take us away. It was your first event back, basically since we all kind of took a break for the summer. What was your thoughts going in, and how did things perform based on what you were expecting?
Well, I had a lot of fun. I did some deck building, mostly the night before.
Deck building or mad sciencing?
Halfway between.
Potion brewing.
It was a take on the deck
Eye
list
of
that I
Newt.
played for an online competition that I've been doing with some other guys.
Yep.
There's a series running with like a team war between some real life players, so, like faces that you might recognize from live events, YCSs, versus some top ranked players play online.
Yep.
And I put a deck together for that. Sadly, I lost my first round, but I'll be playing again at some point.
You have 2 lives, right?
Yep. So I still have 1 life left to play in that event when I get another opportunity to. And yeah, I took that and I thought, you know what, this is a bit of a slightly more casual start to the season. It's not a tier 2 event. It's just a big tournament. I'm gonna have some fun here. So I took some Hydrolanders and I put those in my deck, and I took some Dark Arm Dragon, put a little bit of that in my deck. Check a little Gizmek in from the side.
Just
Mix
like
it
all
all
the
up.
high level
Yep.
monsters that go boom.
Mix it all up. I didn't quite get to 60 cards, so I ended on
Not even trying.
a 50. I very nearly ended on 60 cards. I very nearly put a Pot of Desires into my Orcus list with 1 symbol.
I mean, you started at like 70 cards, and then you needed to shave the 3rd copy of everything so you
Yep.
could put in the Hydrolanders.
Yeah, there was a lot of forced deck building, and it made for a very enjoyable deck. It didn't necessarily make for the best deck it could have been. And I was also not playing very well on the day. You can see so there are some feature matches that we've published. I was in a couple of those. Made quite a few misplays.
Questionable choices, yeah.
Yep, yeah, there were. If I was commenting those at a YCS, I'd have been like, I'm not sure I would have made that line right there. But in this case, I have no defense because I did make that line. So
I think it's an interesting thing that, like, you know, in retrospect, you can see that you made those mistakes, and particularly the round 3 match is one where, like,
Yeah, game 2 was
didn't
not,
go
not
as
Yeah.
it could have.
and
And,
there were
like-
lots of opportunities that I could have done things a lot better. Yeah.
What sort of factors play in there? Is that a case of lack of playing, pressure under the stream, or kind of...
Lack of play, pressure under the stream, lack of sleep.
playing into just a less like strict and competitive environment.
Yep.
Playing against players that you know, by
The
face.
stakes
Yeah,
are
it was
lower.
a friend of mine that I was playing against. I think I was playing against people that I knew every single round of that tournament. So
Yeah.
we were just
There
sat
were a lot
down,
of familiar faces.
chilling around. Like
Indeed.
it's a really good community that we have here. But it was very relaxed. And so it was just a sort of more of a local setting, but with some prizes.
Local setting with like 120 something players.
Yeah, it was a giant locals, but it was a great one. So I didn't do very well. I ended up like 4-3. Had some fun. Maybe I will try and build a slightly more considered version of the deck for whatever I end up playing it next.
And to confirm, you were on Go Second Orchest.
Yeah, I was going second for this one.
Yeah.
I felt like playing something different, really. I built a Go Second deck for the one that I played online, and I kind of liked how that all ran. And yeah, I just wanted to explore it a little bit further. There's more ground to be found. I'm not sure how good the deck will ever actually make it, but it's enjoyable to play. I like resolving Shadow Fusion.
Good card.
That's
Okay.
me then.
Seb, how was your tournament experience?
Yeah, my tournament experience was relatively positive. They tend to be at Brotherhood events, as we've already discussed. I ended 5-2, and for a very kind of strange... It was strange for me, because I did not play Striker. I played Orchest. Bit more of a conventional build than Tom's.
Impossible.
But with Sky Striker cards, right?
Oh yeah. I played Engage. I played Engage. I played Drones. I played Kagari.
Have you played a deck that doesn't contain Engage in it?
I have written
Since Engage was released.
2 deck lists without Engage since Engage was released. Yeah. 2.
Okay, fair.
Oh no,
Okay,
sorry. 2.
So you're playing Orcus.
And you regret both of them.
Yes, I do actually. But both of those decks would have been better with Engage. Funny that.
Amazing.
But yeah, so I played Orchest. I played a very kind of small Orchest deck. It wasn't trying to go big. The whole concept behind it was basically just Salad, but take out all of the bad Salad cards and put in good Orchest cards. I played 9 hand traps. I played like all of the good going second cards, the twins.
You did not play all of the good going second.
I played
cards.
as many as I could fit in without like exploding my deck
Played
beyond
the
40.
mainstream going.
Sure. Yeah, I played, Vishuda and all of like instant fusion twins, all of the stuff that you kind of expect in your deck. I was picking first though, because the concept was it functions exactly like Salad.
Yeah, you try to accrue a little bit of advantage turn 1 and then snowball a little bit from there.
Yeah, like the whole point is you end on Galatea, Field Spell, Nightmare and Symbols Engrave with Ding Engrave. So you have both a single piece of interaction and Nightmare for playing next turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the idea is that also that plays around Nibiru quite well. I did get Nibiru'd twice. This was the same match. I didn't really care at all when I got Nibiru'd. It was
Okay.
alright.
Did the idea of just having one piece of interaction plus follow for the following turn, did that play out as you expected, or did it underperform?
I quite liked the deck. It was, my losses were the first one was to Cyber Dragon, which I'm just convinced is not a matchup that my deck can ever be.
Yeah, that is a matchup where you lost a lot of percentage points by just making smaller combos.
Yeah. It's definitely a matchup where I lose percentage points for making smaller combos, and also it's just they summon Cyber Dragon to start their turn, and then all of my machines go bye-bye, so my counter trap is never ever live.
Oh, they
So
make
I
the other
only
Cyber
ever
Dragon.
have Ding. And then once I've summoned the Ding, they just Cyber Dragon that away.
The OG Chimera attack.
I was thinking they just got the one out of your extra monster zone.
No,
and then
no,
you
no,
still had
they're
the
all
second
machines.
Gelatin. No, you're dead.
Yeah, no. Everything's super dead.
Super dead.
Yeah, it's just not a good matchup. And then I lost an Orcus Mirror in time. I definitely won that outside of time. I had all of the stuff lined up to do things. But
Didn't play him.
time is
How it goes.
as it is. So I'm pretty I like the deck a lot. Will I play it for again? There's still Striker.
Race car day.
I mean, Striker
but I
did
had-
win the event.
Yeah, like I had a lot of fun.
We already know you're playing Striker. Don't worry.
And
You
it
might
was,
not.
it
know
was
yet.
nice to play something different for a change. I did actually write an Orcus deck list this time.
Alec, you had 2 considerations going into this event. What were they?
Okay, so the baseline standard is play Pendulum, because most people know that Pendulum just is an actual good deck this format. It didn't get touched at all on the FNL list, and everything else took a reasonable chipping away at, so Pendulum is a real, just...
It still does its stuff.
Yeah, it is I would generally put it as a tier 1 contender for best deck. And then the other option, which I did actually mention a few weeks ago on stream, is Draco. Specifically Draco Striker. I think... So, this is the very first event that the Worlds promo, the tin promo cards were going to be legal for. So, going into the event, we were expecting a significant over-representation of those cards. On one hand, people might not have gotten the cards yet. People might not have had access to them. Their deliveries might not have gotten there. They might have ordered them off the secondary market, whatever, for like the following week. But at the same time, week 1 is where people are going to try their shiny new cards. So if you owned Nibiru's, you're probably going to be playing Nibiru's. And if you owned Dark Ruler No More, you're probably going to be playing the Dark Ruler No More. And if you really, really wanted to push your macro hand trap, then you're going to play your, Grin Maju, whatever. So I feel like the number of Nibiru's in that room versus the number of Nibiru's written on deck lists would be pretty much the same number. So if everyone's on that, then in theory, this event would be the one to play a really fair strategy. And I feel like Draco is actually very well positioned to crush Striker and Salad, and has a much better matchup against Orcus than it did back when it had all the fun blades and stuff and was doing much bigger combos. So that was the mentality, and then I never got around to actually putting together the list ahead of time. So I played Pendulum.
We spent a lot of time here tonight before just being like,
I don't know what to play.
yeah.
I really want a Draco Striker, but realistically, I'm just gonna negate people's lives.
Mhm.
So I ended up negating people's lives, and
So where did you finish?
so I got 4th. I finished X1, which apparently is just 6-1. News to me.
there was no magical.
So yeah, I won a lot of die rolls, and I won
It helps.
a lot of game 1 and game 3s, and that's about the story of the weekend. I Nibiru'd a reasonable number of people. Multiple people either showed me a Nibiru that they couldn't activate because I had the negation for it with Jackal, or revealed the Nibiru as their 6th card. One of the two. And yeah, I just killed a lot of people. It was good.
That'll do it.
I won a fair few grind games. There was one specifically against Orcus where the game must have been at least 20 turns total. This was post side, and I was going 2nd, and my hand was trash, and 6th card was Lancia, so it was still trash. And we ground that game out, and then Pendulum just out-advantaged him, which is cool, because, most people don't believe those games exist with Pendulum, but the deck can grind very well against a lot of the fair decks in the format at the moment.
That's just because they're all after losing all of their grind cards. It's like, oh, I have no multi-rolls left. And you're like, oh, I draw a card every turn. I'm grinding.
You might only be able to Pendulum 1, but your 1 is bigger than theirs.
How can a single array beat a 2k beater?
Jackal. Spell card, attack, negate, go. What are you gonna do? Not play spell cards?
So after this video, I'm going to be recording that profile with Alec, and then hopefully it will be uploaded by tomorrow. So anybody who is looking to learn from the greatest Pendulum player alive, and this is perhaps not the channel for you.
We love you, Tafen. I'm coming for you.
Tafen is a powerful wizard.
Tafen just switched teams.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we're finished with Brotherhood 1K.
Drop season.
Fantastic event. like, again, when the regionals is coming up, we're going to be mentioning it more, but we're going to be there and it's going to be big. And also, if you liked the recordings that we did of the live matches, let us know. There's a few things we need to change around. The like angles were wide and the sound in the background is kind of unnecessary, but I think it's nice to get to kind of document such a like important event at the start of the season, because people are still figuring out where everything stands. Team news, I guess.
Yeah, like I thought this
there's
was
been
pretty
a
exciting.
lot of that.
Like the powerhouse from last year seems to have really split.
I thought we were the powerhouse from last year.
we were pre-nats.
Oh.
I didn't lose a single round at a European YCS last year.
Oh, powerful.
Yeah.
Nice.
Really good.
Yeah. So anyway, didn't play a
But
single
yeah,
round.
so we saw E-Man Games see like a pretty big rift coming apart.
Yeah,
they-
Eman Games lost a lot of their core players.
Yeah.
Now they still have Joshua Schmidt,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
is like kind of he was the first big name to really be pulled over to the E-Man brand.
Yeah.
And they still got a lot of really big players from the Italian
Yeah,
scene.
they've still got Merker, they've still got Collins, and
Alberto Conti.
Yep.
Still have the silly Biggins.
They do have friend of the channel Billy Siggins.
Yes.
But yeah, we saw Tefan, Johannes, Jonas,
Yes.
Eugen, all split from E-Man Games, and I think all of them ended up on Alibaba,
Yep.
which is.
I mean, it goes from one German team to another basically.
Yes.
But I mean, that was a team that we didn't necessarily see like high-profile event wins, but they had some very strong players on there already.
It's interesting because like over time you see progression of like, Gosu's clearly really put a lot of work into setting up what teams were in the game.
Mhm.
And then like when I was getting involved with competitive side of things, we saw the rise of CCG, which was just like massive powerhouse when it started out. And then E-Man arrives a couple of years later and again just kind of like is so disruptive in
challenger
in the
approaches.
teams. Yeah, and pulled a lot of big names to it. So it's interesting to see that Alibaba is able to come. And again, it's a couple of years after the last big German powerhouse, and just again disrupt the field a lot and see large shakeups. And then we also have the disruption where like ARG Europe is no more. CCG is.
Is
Why are you
it CCG? Is it ARG? We don't know. Find out next week.
We're
they
now
know?
back onto
Yeah,
CCG
we're
by
back
the
to
looks of
CCG.
things, but
Yep.
I think that it's going to be very tight at the top for who's going to be the dominant team this year. Last year's second place, well, what I thought was the second best performing team last year was still the old founders Gosu's. Like,
Gosu's were really strong
Gosu's-
last year, but they've lost a lot of their core players as well.
yeah, that's true. It'll be interesting to see whether they continue to do as well this year now that they've come down a few players. But obviously, E-Man's lost a load of players. Alibaba's gained a load and might spring up from a position where we weren't really having them on our radar that much to being a real dominant force in Europe. So there's a lot to prove going into the start of the season.
And that's going to be seen at YCS Ghent.
Yeah, I'm excited.
With regards to Ghent, I think you guys are all going to be there.
Yes.
I think half of the Irish crew are also going to be there. So there will be a pretty good Kuribrohs presence there. So if you're looking for us, as usual, we're going to be in purple jerseys. So we're very
see
easy
us.
to spot. And then I'll be at Niagara Falls. So if you are going to any of those events, feel free to come over and say hi to us. If you are playing anything interesting or you top those events, we will also be recording at both of them. So that's just kind of a little housekeeping that if you want to be YouTube famous, let
Get
us
on a
know.
big channel.
But I had like 2 people say they watched the channel, and only one of them was my mum. So
Was the other one your mum's alt?
That was Dan talking to himself. Stay hydrated.
drink water. It's funny because it's his name. So I mean, that's the biggest news. YCS Ghent, how do you guys feel about the format after this event? Like, again, we saw Striker win, we saw Salomon great on the top table, you played a Pendulum Mirror on table 2,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, there's just 3 people in England that play Pendulum religiously, and I'm one of them, so...
And you were playing against one of the other ones.
And Matthew Chen was 5th place, I believe, so,
Right.
he was also crushing it with Pendulum, and then, I had to beat Moffat in the last round of Swiss to knock him down to early 10s kind of placing.
Yeah.
So, I believe the 3 prominent UK Pendulum players were all X2 or better at that event.
Yeah, so we had Alex on, I think, round 4 or 5, and he ended up playing against Trickstar Lunalight. Lost to die roll and just got, like...
Yeah.
That'll do it.
That was an unfortunate one. There was a lot of wombo combo.
Yeah, Trickstar Lunalight is, like... or it's not Trickstar Lunalight, it's
Lunalight Orcus.
Lunalight Orcus.
Yeah.
That's the one.
Yeah.
No Trickstar cards
Seems
were
like a
featured.
good deck at the moment. Like,
Yeah, like-
If you want a wombo and you want a combo and you don't want to care about big rocks, then...
So, Raphael Nevin's
No.
been playing some Lunalights online.
you don't care about Nibiru because you go into Azatoth.
Okay.
Yeah, you go into Azatoth and then you combo.
Well, goddamn.
That's why Lunalights are playable.
Sure.
Yeah, obviously, we saw Raph doing incredibly well, flying out to America, crushing it over there with his...
I mean, shout outs to Vlad for...
Putting
Yeah,
out-
shout out to Vlad for building the deck, but
yeah, he's
Raph did win the YCS.
he's still running it back. He's been doing well with it, and it's really gaining some traction. Like, a lot of people picking it up, trying it out, and when it combos so hard.
Like, the deck is in a very similar position to Pendulum, where it was the slightly weaker combo deck to Danger Thunder, and none of its cards got touched.
Yeah.
And one of the other good cards got touched, so suddenly it's just, one of the prominent combo decks.
Another interesting thing that happened, which I will link in the chat, is Matt Bell, who works on the game, is after starting a personal blog where he's just talking about general game design stuff. So I found the first article to be... I'm trying to post for my personal one. We'll put it in the description later. But he wrote a post about the idea of rarity in card games, which was quite interesting if you're interested in game design and the general kind of culture and business side of things.
Yep.
It's quite interesting.
So
I think
obviously Matt's got a huge amount of experience.
Yeah.
He's been working with Yu-Gi-Oh for a long time now, like pushing on towards 10 years.
2011 was when he
Yep.
joined Konami, I think. And he was like judging and stuff before that. I'm pretty sure he had judged Worlds one year. I'm not 100% sure, but I think he did. So like, he has a long relationship with the game. And in the blog, he like isn't touching on Yu-Gi-Oh at all because obviously he has like work commitments to it. But just there's a lot of stuff that you can apply from it across multiple card games.
Yeah.
There's points from that which I'm going to be writing up my own discussion points on because I think it's a very good discussion, but there is a bit more nuance to things. So, for example, he discusses card rarity and how a rarer card is almost always better than a common card, and uses an example from Magic the Gathering. But if you look at Magic the Gathering's design, there's a lot of cases where it's just a case that rare cards have more complex abilities, and that doesn't necessarily correlate to the strength of the card. And you see that in Yu-Gi-Oh as well, where you have like, you have your like secret or ultra rare cover card of the set, which has like 5 different effects.
A wall of text.
But that
None of
doesn't
them
beat
are
the
good.
like just Supply Squad or Called by the Grave.
Pancratops.
Pancratops.
Tops.
Alex, spirit animal.
Fluxing.
But yeah, so that's quite an interesting article. I would definitely recommend reading it, and I think it's definitely something that I'd love to see discussed because it's relevant to the game and it's quite interesting to just see like why different cards get different priorities.
We'll definitely be looking out for the further installments. If there's more blog posts come, there'll be more interesting insight to be seen.
Yep. Okay, so regional season is starting up.
Mhm.
Do you guys have any advice for people that are going to be heading to regionals?
Find some friends, jump in a car, drive to the event. Even if you don't think that you like are gonna do well, it's fun and it's a great place to start.
Like, honestly, just playing multiple regionals is the best way to improve at the game.
Yeah.
Like, as long as you're like relatively comfortable with tournament policy, then like, you know, you can go to a few regionals. Like the first regionals I went to was like 2014, and I was playing like Blue Eyes. This was like pre-alternative and stuff, and I was calling judges on things like, does Magic Cylinder target my Azor or my my Azor Eyes Silver Dragon? That level of
Powerful
judge
interactions.
calls.
Yeah.
Yes.
We've all been there.
Does
No.
it?
Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But
Um,
who knows? In
if you
2014,
read
would it
the
have had
card-
PSCT?
it was like a secret rare Magic Cylinder. But yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So
There's only one.
Did you beat him?
I cannot remember. I like
Yeah.
I want to say yes, but probably no. I was playing Blue Eyes. Like I was
He
playing
was playing Magic Cylinder.
Magic Cylinder, good card. Like
I
have
mean,
you ever Magic Cylinder to Utopia with 10k attack?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Our friend Lewis did manage to resolve Kunkiri on the second attack of a Utopia that had been doubled.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
I Hydrolanded the second attack of a double Utopia.
Beautiful.
I don't think you can Magic Cylinder the double attack.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is a second
you-
attack because you negate the first attack.
yeah, it is
Second
it was a separate.
Can you
separate attack.
conquer it?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a separate
it's a
attack.
separate attack.
It's basically
Technically.
declare another attack.
Yeah, because you still successfully negate your first attack with
Yeah.
Utopia's back.
Sure. Yeah, it's not a replay attack. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you can.
Yeah, I've never seen anything quite so brutal. A man lost his soul that game.
So, okay, here's an interesting question, which is going to lead us on a tangent. Which all good
We've
questions
never
do.
gone on a tangent on this stream before.
No, exactly. So, Nipro is asking a tutorial on how to start a team. And this is a question we get a lot, and it's kind of a difficult one to answer, because what a team is in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very abstract term. And what a team should be is also very much up to who is involved. So, for example, in a team like this, we attempted to have a very rigid structure, and then we realized that nobody actually cared what was happening as long as stuff was happening. So, like, our kind
Only
of,
want a tiny bit of stuff happening.
so like when we were starting out, we were trying to do kind of like monthly meetings and stuff, and it's just a lot of time commitments from a lot of people. So the current way we do things is you need to have somebody which your players trust, and it's a case of having faith that that person will act in the interest of the people on the team. So that's the way that we find works for us. You can set the team up like an organization, and that's kind of what you're going to see with things like CCG, ARG Europe. But as you can see, there can be issues with those where if things are very formal and things aren't discussed clearly or correctly, then you can have issues there. So
I think you need to have a very concrete vision of what you're going for. Whether you're going for just a group of guys that want to go and play some Yu-Gi-Ohs, or if you want to have an actual team where you're trying to get sponsors in and you're trying to build a media presence and you're trying to promote a store.
don't go for
That-
sponsors. It's not.
It also
if you want to sponsor, Card Market, fantastic sponsor. They
Yeah.
are literally the best sponsor that you can find inside the realm of Yu-Gi-Oh! If you want to go bigger than that, you need to have a much larger presence than any of the teams currently have in Yu-Gi-Oh!
You need to jump through a lot more hoops.
And you need to jump through a lot more hoops. If you can find a vendor that's going to back you up, great. But that's awkward, and then vendors often will say, hey, look, you have to just give us all of your prize support sort of thing, and we'll give you a certain amount. So yeah, if you want to go big with your team, there's a lot of kind of figuring out what you want to do, and then who you want to be, really. But if you just want to do a team with friends, like literally just print some jerseys. Like you can do it really cheap.
You say you're on a team,
Like,
yeah.
you print a logo.
Yeah.
To be honest, I wouldn't even start with the jerseys. I would go with maybe just playmats. Like they're the simplest things.
T-shirts are so cheap to do. Like you can get T-shirts printed anywhere. It's like €10 per shirt, and then everybody looks the same.
Maybe both.
Just,
I mean, playmats are cool too.
like the first thing to
They
do
might
is
have
just go to your
zones.
friends that you're already traveling to an event to and say, "Hey, do you want to be on a team?
Team.
Think of a name."
Team.
That is
We're-
more or less how this happened. Like,
Yeah, I mean, I like kind of
You
was
bridge-
talking to Tom.
yeah.
And make sure you shout to Alec at least twice every event and say, "You're off the team!"
Yes, that's very important. Banter is important, right?
We keep the
Um,
professionalism to a minimum. That's our mantra.
But yeah, I hope that kind of gives you a rough idea. Yeah, I would recommend just like start with just a group of guys that you like hanging out with. By playing with people frequently, as long as you guys are all trying to improve, you will improve over time. Because each person will grow at different paces, but you grow fastest when playing against other people.
And I think that is what most people as competitive players are looking for from the team sort of thing.
Like it's probably pretty obvious, but have a team group chat, and if you have ideas for deck building, throw them in there.
Yeah.
Because like
Don't be afraid to try
Yeah.
them in there either, because
Okay.
we have three team group chats. We have an Irish group chat, a UK and Daniel group chat, and
The collective.
the
Yeah.
whole team.
The cesspit.
TKB the chat.
And like there's a lot of times where one of the guys will post into either of the regional group chats being like, "Hey, this is the deck I'm considering playing," and like every time I'm just like, "Please just like post it to everybody," because then you'll have the most eyes looking at it, and if you trust your team, then you'll trust that they'll be able to give you the best advice they possibly can.
if you have 10 guys on the team and everyone has 10 bad ideas, that's 100 bad ideas, and one of them's good.
We're still working on the good idea, but
And if you just take 3 bad ideas and put them in the same deck. and
Oh,
call it 60,
now we're building.
And then 3 desires.
Okay.
Boys.
Moving on from that, next guy asks, when deciding between lines of play, how do you ultimately decide which to make? That's a very broad question.
Like it's very situation dependent. Exclusively situation dependent.
So,
It's about odds, balancing odds, really.
so there's an idea in card games which is heuristics, where it's kind of, there are certain actions that you're always going to take in certain orders by default, right?
Yeah.
So it's the idea of like you're generally going to like draw before you search, assuming there's no other factors, because the draws will influence what you want to search, right?
Yeah, like you want to get your garnets out of your deck before you desires. That's just an obvious game mechanic that you want to be doing in an ideal world.
Desires goes against the draw before search, because in the desires scenario you need your like specific one of gazelle because it's at 1. So you have to circle for it and then desire.
Probably sign up mining because circle's also a 1.
Oh.
They're very rigid sort of decision trees that most decks follow, and the first step towards decision making is what is the best play for this situation if I assume all of the hidden information doesn't do anything. The first bit that is very confusing for newer players getting into the game is just the face-up information on the table. The cards that have really big, really small text boxes and a lot of text in them, just fundamentally understanding how all that pieces together and being able to figure out the optimal play based on the stuff you know. So that's the level 1.
I think that's actually the level 2. The level 1 that I would start on is solitaire with your deck. Go through, play 100 hands of just doing your turn 1, work out what combo can you do with each
Watch
star.
other people play the deck as well.
Watch other people, learn what it does in a vacuum with no opposition. Once you know all of the different end boards that you're trying to aim for, you can start learning what combinations of cards in your hand will get you to those end boards. And the more that you practice that, and the more that you've got that ingrained in your head, you don't need to then go through thinking about each of those lines when you're at the event. You can just say, oh, okay, I've got these 2 cards, I know the combo from these 2 cards, and that'll lend me that. And that gets sort of condensed down into shortcuts. So you know, okay, those 2 cards equals that end board. And once you've got all of those in sort of a little memory bank of your start position and your end position, then you can apply that to thinking about, okay, here's what I can see from my opponent's side of the field. They have 1 negation and a set card. Maybe at this point, you don't even consider what the set card is because there could be a lot of things that could be. You just look at that 1 negation. It's going to negate something in your turn. So you probably want to consider a way that you can force that negation. So ideally it'll be something like a card effect that would remove it from the field unless it gets used immediately. So you know that either the negation is removed or it's being dealt with. And then at that point you can think about what resources you need to apply to do that and what you have left to build your board afterwards. If you know how you can get through that, there's another level that you can start looking for where you start considering what could face down cards be and what hand traps could there be. And at that point you can start thinking, okay, which line could I make that's least likely to be affected by cards that my opponent could have? And then I think there's one more level beyond that where you think, can I win this game if I'm trying to play around those things?
Yeah.
That's a really important
Yeah.
level.
So you need to go through learning each level before you can really get anything out of this last level, but it's the one that takes you a step beyond to actually being in a position to maximize your chance in every game. If you can do levels 1 through 3 in a very short amount of time, because obviously when you're playing in a game, you have to be making your moves at a sensible pace. If you need to have lots of time for steps 1 to 3, then you can't do step 4. But step 4 is like the real high level play where you think, okay, if I make this safe move that plays around Ash Blossom, that plays around a set
I think
Solemn
the
Strike.
easiest example, and this is one that comes up a lot when teaching people how to play the game, because the demo decks we have Mirror Force in them.
Yeah.
So the player always looks through and sees their deck, and everybody knows Mirror Force, right? And so what you will always see with players who have less experience is the players in the middle ground. They will know that you have the ability to have Mirror Force, and if you have any set card, they will play assuming you have Mirror Force. And they will refuse to attack into a blank face down. Yeah. And so it's understanding that, like, in this sort of scenario, you know, if the worst case scenario is that they have Mirror Force, do I have any way to get through it, or do I just have to force through it? Yeah. And those are the really important decision trees that you're saying.
Or
where
even
it's
the
like,
inverse decision of, if it's Mirror Force, is that even that bad for me?
Yeah.
Would I prefer them to Mirror Force now rather than leaving the Mirror Force face down for 3 turns and then having 4 monsters and then needing to attack them?
And in a real game of modern Yu-Gi-Oh, I think it's more often, if I don't try and kill them this turn, will I get another turn?
Yeah.
So sometimes you can try and play around the hand trap, but sometimes you just have to say, okay, if I don't win now, I'm gonna die anyway.
Can't take
so
these cards with me.
They better have it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. You say, do you have it? And that's why it's important to like not be afraid to set bluffs as well. There are times where it's not appropriate to. Like, there are cases where a card is so valued that you can't bluff it.
Yeah.
Gurgle, gurgle.
Don't set your Heavy Storm in the top 32 as a bluff.
Sure.
Thomas Rose, future 2-time YCS champion.
This was
From humble beginnings.
YCS Sheffield. I played against Alec in the top cup.
And you said
It was both of our first
His turn
YCS
1,
tops.
6 cards, battle pack sealed, is set 1 pass, and my first turn is normal summon Breaker the Magical Warrior, destroy your set Heavy Storm.
I was looking at a bad hand at the time. I thought my only way to win was to try and get bonus value from Heavy Storm, but that was not the way to play that.
Not the one.
No.
Don't always set bluffs.
So I mean, once you get beyond level 3 of what you're saying, it becomes very nuanced.
Yeah.
But definitely, like, get to the point where you're able to, like, quickly look through the first 3 levels and establish what is the simple stuff, assuming there's no interaction and it's just solitaire. What am I meant to be doing? And then after that, you can start saying, oh, hey, well, do I need to force this out by playing my worst best card before I start playing my best cards? And
So-
that's,
So yeah, I think like just simplifying it down is your cards, the cards your opponent that you know about, the cards that you don't know about, and whether you should care, and just go through it in that order.
cool. That was a really good question. Hopefully it was sufficiently insightful. Yugi Joe asks, are there any viable decks you'd consider playing where you get to include Dimension Shifter aside from Thunder? Dimension Shifter is level 6, right?
Yes. Level 6 dark.
Level 6 dark. So Grand Maju is the deck that I personally would want to play that card in because it says banish. It seems really obvious, but like,
I don't think it banishes enough for that deck, though. Would be my feeling.
I mean,
like,
it's just a good hand trap. Is the
Yeah, I feel like you.
but is it a good hand trap? That's the thing. It's like, because if you don't have any way to do anything with it in hands where it's not live, like if I go first and I have Shifter in my hand,
You just ditch Shifter, and then
Discard
your opponent's first turn is
Yeah.
under Shifter.
sure,
But
Like-
the issue with Grand Magi for me is
chaos
that
free.
the issue with Grand Magi for me is
You have a shifter in your
if you play a floodgate hand trap, then you need to be able to
Privilege.
make use of the fact that you have time walked your opponent.
Yeah.
But let's say even in the success situation where you go Dimension Shifter, do a little bit of Dirtle, and your opponent goes, I have no live play through Macrocosmos, pass back to you. You need to be able to profit more than one card's worth of advantage in that second turn, or in your freebie turn.
Yeah.
And I just don't feel Grand Magi reliably enough has the sort of snowball effect or the card advantage generating stuff that means that you can either reliably just kill them because they have no board, or gain lots of pluses because you've got that free extra turn.
Is there some sort of erratic deck that could potentially play it with Celestial Observatory?
I mean, Heretic
Or like
definitely wants
Heralds,
its cards
I
to
don't
go
know.
to the graveyard. Is
Add it-
the issue.
Add it to
Sure.
the pile.
So, I think that the build that we've seen most recently of Grand Magi definitely can't take advantage of Shifter.
Yeah.
But possibly, if you look at one of the long ago, it was a very much a stall-based game. Shifter could have an interesting place in that deck as a card specifically for going second, which would enable you to play a deck full of trap cards and mitigate the risk of not being able to set your trap cards before your opponent goes off.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times, if you play Shifter against decks right now, on their first turn of the game, they are going to do roughly pass.
Roughly.
Roughly
Yeah, like-
pass.
You know, against Striker, Solomon Grade, both of those are like, oh.
You don't want to banish all your spell cards.
Yeah, as in like
It's so good, like, if your opponent goes Foolish Goods, and you go Shifter, and you're like,
and then they banish the second foolish goods. Yep.
yeah. That means they're going to draw Metal Foes Fusion every turn for the rest of the game.
And you would have done that
That's the
anyway.
trick. You have to banish your Metal Foes Fusion because you're like, I don't even know why I'm playing this card.
Yeah, as a going second card for decks that don't care about their own graveyard, Dimension Shifter is a fantastic card and will be very, very strong. So that's Subterrors as well. Should realistically be packing 3 of that card.
Yeah.
And a lot of the non-graveyard based decks that want to kill people, which can realistically be just Danger Punch.
Dangers? I'm not sure about that.
They just trigger by being discarded.
Yeah, they don't need to go to the graveyard.
Okay.
And also, they can get rid of the
Snake-
Shifter. when
Snake banishes
no
itself
one uses
from graveyard or banished.
Summons itself.
Yeah, summons itself.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, it's only hurting your Chupacabra, and we don't need Chupacabra where we're going.
Although he did just get a shining European.
Yeah, but so did Wolf, and we're still not playing him.
Wait, we're not playing Wolfman?
No.
Nani?
Dogman.
Dogman?
Who's Wolfman?
Who's
All the
Wolfman?
same.
Silver Wolf Raigeki game?
Silver Fang!
Silver Wolf.
Yikes.
Wolf Fang.
We're professionals.
We
Imagine Wagons asks, how do you know when it's time to change decks?
You don't.
No.
No.
Tom does not.
Tom, you need to let Alistair go.
Here, my position is that you like the way I look at decks, and this might just be me, is that
Play Striker forever.
okay. First of all, yes, but the actual real way I look at deck building is before every event I go in with which deck should I play, and there is like the default is inevitably Striker because that's just who I am as a person. But like theoretically, you don't really want there to be a default. Obviously, if you have financial restrictions, then that just
I think
goes
you're
out the
only
window.
looking at this from the perspective of someone that's trying to get the best result at every event. And that's not a lot of people. Like, that's some people.
This is me.
Okay, I think there's like a really important point here, which is in the past year, and it's something that a lot of people are frustrated by, is that there haven't been any great incentives to change them.
Oh yeah, no.
So,
Just literally
you know, like when the Monarch structure deck came out,
Mhm.
it was a very powerful deck,
Yeah.
and it incentivized players to change deck because Domain of the Monarchs affected any of the rogue decks in a format. So like even at the casual locals level, it's like, oh well, I can just pick up 3 copies of this deck, and then I get to just like say, oh, you're playing Pepe, stop it with the extra deck shenanigans, you know? Like, and so
Didn't Salamangreat do that?
Yeah,
I don't think Solomon Great did. Solomon Great, like,
If you were
the
playing
field
Striker,
is still super diverse. Like, if you're on any of the decks that are tier 2 or higher at the moment, they've been pretty much tier 2 or higher since they got whatever their most recent set of support was. So, like, you know,
I think the thing
there's
is
like...
the last thing to shake up the meta was Salamangreats.
Onabiru.
Okay, but like actual change.
Dingirsu.
What decks are good? Well, Orcust was good before Dingirsu.
Nah.
Yeah, but in terms of like what shifted, what decks are good, like nothing has changed since long before Euros, and for the foreseeable future, like the options haven't really changed a lot in my personal
But the
opinion.
options are endless.
Yeah, the options are endless,
But yeah,
but
so
the options that were available haven't changed, and I think that means that there's no like great incentive to suddenly swap what you have been doing for the last
So from the
however many months.
from the competitive player's perspective, in terms of just pure win rate, there is no incentive to change deck. However, it can get boring playing the same deck forever. Like there are incentives in that regard to. Okay, I am somewhat tired of playing Sky Striker when I picked it up in September of last year, and we're in September now.
That's
So
weak.
I've had the deck for 12 months, and like
18
particularly
months.
after hits and stuff, you know, you start getting to the point where you're like, it's not quite the deck that I was playing, and so there's definitely a reason to change there, and there's even just an opportunity to like if you can broaden your card pool so that instead of changing decks, you just have access to multiple decks. So like again, like Striker and Solomon Great, which are in the more hand trap side of things. So like if you had Striker, you could go into Solomon Great, and I think the Striker stuff is a lot cheaper now. I haven't checked.
Yeah,
secondary
Engage
markets.
is $4.
So like, you know, if you have it where you have like a core of identity cards, and then you just have multiple archetypes that can interface with that core, then that's a really good way to change decks in a very manageable manner.
Yeah.
When you go like full crazy like us, you have like Alec where he has just a box of just everything sleeved in triplicate, at which point he can just kind of like chop and change whatever he wants.
These are the draw cards I'm playing today.
Yeah.
Let's put it this way. I rocked up with full Orcust, full Striker, and full Pendulum in my backpack to Brotherhood on Sunday.
But you didn't even play the best deck.
I played the Orcust deck that I wanted to play.
Smash.
So
Well, originally my Pendulum deck was for Dan, but Dan said he didn't want to play, so, you know.
I was recording.
from a complete spike point of view, I think the time to change deck is every week. You always plan to reevaluate which is the best deck going into the next event. It's highly reliant on having a lot of time to analyze the format, to test the decks, and to prepare for the meta. But if you are going through the format, planning to do the best you can at every event, then there is no time to just sit and stop and say, okay, I'll just play what I played last week. You need to think about what meta you expect from the next room that you will be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! In. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that it reflects the meta of the entire community of Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's just the meta of the next tournament. And that might not even be which decks you expect, it's which decks are the players that you're most worried about playing against going to be playing. Because if it's a small event, it's correct to just metagame against the stronger opposition in the room. With that said, in a real world, most people don't have that much time. There is something to be said for just sticking with a deck that is good enough and you're comfortable with. So anyone
Mechanical knowledge is very important. But at the same time, you shouldn't lock yourself into a deck. Again, something that we've not touched off here is just your enjoyment of playing is important.
Yeah, that was going to be my next one, because this is my spike advice.
Sure.
But yeah, the real answer is play whichever deck's going to mean that you have the most fun event. Like, if you go to every tournament with the view to like doing whatever will make you have the most fun, it's going to be a good time. Like, if for you that's winning, then play the deck that gives you the best chance of winning. And yeah, there's a load of stuff that you can do that I just talked about to maximize that. But like, for all of us at some times, winning isn't the main goal. It's just something that we hope happens along the way.
I like Noble Knights.
I have played some real trash decks at locals.
I think the short answer is everyone picks up a deck, or you play a deck in an event to do a specific thing. And if that thing is to draw a lot of cards, then it's to draw a lot of cards. And if you think it's because it's a good medical, or you want to try it out, or you just want to have a lot of fun, then those are all perfectly valid decisions. But the time that you should switch deck is when that reason is no longer the case.
Yeah.
So if you picked up a deck because you just want to crush every Sky Striker player in the room, so you're going to play Colossus Turbo, main decking 3 Spell Canceller,
And a handful of kaijus.
then if you're not crushing Striker anymore, you should probably put that deck down. And if there's not going to be any Striker in the room, also a good reason to put that deck down.
Yeah.
Obviously an extreme case, but yeah, if you're playing a deck to have fun because you really enjoy doing whatever dirtily you're doing, and you're just not enjoy going through the motions anymore, then that's a good time to try something new.
Yeah.
And obviously if you're playing just to win, to spike your percentage advantage over the field, and you don't feel like you're getting that from your deck anymore, then that's also a perfectly good reason to move over. So
yeah.
I think we've pretty much covered that. Like, again, pretty in-depth discussion. The next thing we're going to look at quickly is YGO Scope. I can't post it in the chat at the moment because I'm not on the right account. But if you go to ygoscope.com, you can see the percentage win rates that decks have been seeing recently. And this is something that's really interesting to me because I think it really says a lot about the current format. And so, from a game design perspective, you want pretty much all of your players to be winning 50% of their games because that keeps everybody invested and emotionally involved with the game. And that's definitely something that the current Forbidden Unlimited list seems to be achieving, because as we saw after the list, the trend is kind of following through where like Sky Striker is at 55% win rate, Salmon Grade at 55% win rate. We see Thunder and Orcust slightly higher. Orcust obviously always has that cap where if it starts doing well, people are like maining shifters or like siding Lancias, and the deck's like super dead. Draco has dropped to 55%, which I'm surprised by, because I was expecting with the popularity of the back row decks in the format that Draco would still be performing well.
Positioned, yeah.
But again, like, the numbers aren't always accurate and it is very small sample sizes, so there could be inaccuracies. Altergeist performing well, Subterra performing well, so these are possibly the better back row decks of the format.
But the 4 main decks from last format have all taken a notable percentage decrease in their win percentage from 60 ballpark to the upper 50s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is quite big.
Yeah, which means that the format is normalizing to a tier 1.5 format where you can just play anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You can
play
anything.
anything you want.
I enjoy a little bit of those sometime. Not all the time, but some of the time.
There's going to be a lot of shenanigans at Ghent and Niagara Falls, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yes. Yes.
So that's interesting, and again, that's the sort of resource that you can use when deciding, like, is this deck right for me from a competitive standpoint, and then also in preparing for events such as YCSs.
So we've dropped the link to Yu-Gi-Oh! Scope into the chat for anyone that doesn't already know about it. Now that we have control of the TKB account, I will put also a link to Matt Bell's blog that we mentioned earlier for anyone that wants to check that one out as well.
Definitely good reading material. Next guy asks about Cube List. Soon.
Soon, TM.
Tom is a very busy man fitting Dark Arm Dragon and Hydralander into the same deck box.
Around full-time job and girlfriend that I wish I could spend more time with.
No.
Yeah, like, the other thing is, you have no idea how many times we just sit down before every cube and go, so what needs to change?
Yep, it changes every time we play.
We haven't even put cards in for a good, 3 months.
Basically, I need to
so
come
much
over.
that needs to go in.
I need to come over at some point and just be handed the cube, so I can just use all of my infinite free time to type in cards.
That is a thing you could do.
Yeah, but if we hand down the
I've been over here
cube-
for like 5 days. Oops.
This is the Daniel Neville that announced that he was going to come and visit for
For
the
Brotherhood.
Brotherhood 1K event. When did you fly?
Thursday.
I picked him up from the airport at 8
I
o'clock
booked my
Thursday
flights
morning.
Tuesday. Thursday was real cheap.
Hey Alec, do you mind if I come and stay with you for
No.
the Brotherhood event?
There was none of that.
Alec just was like, come here.
Oh yeah, not doing anything else with my life. No plans.
I hoovered the house. What more do you want from me?
Why did you hoover my house? You spent all Thursday and Friday there. Whee!
You're okay there, friend.
I'm not sure he is. I'm not sure I am anymore.
So, final question before we call it a night. Thank you all for joining us so far. Joe McMahon asks, have you guys seen the Orcus FTK using Cyberstein? Is there any Orcus list that you have not seen?
Maybe. There's not going to be a lot of them. I assume this is Guard Dragons for Brotor, for Cyberstein, targeting your Galatea or your Orcus Nightmare.
Blocker boy.
And then I don't know that I've seen an FTK with Cyberstein. It could just be...
It's the same one as last time to my knowledge. Just the equip spell or the field spell.
Okay, I thought it.
Psychic.
I thought it could have been the Super Alloy Beast Resaptimus.
That one's hilarious as well.
Oh yeah, I have seen this one. This is the one that Vlad played for
Yes,
the
he played for
IRL versus online team war.
That wasn't Orcus though, was it? It was like...
It played an Orcust. Like it played the nightmare that you summoned to be able to Brotor for Cannon Soldier.
Right, yeah.
So no, I don't think I've seen this Orcus FTK list.
Which Orcus FTK? It's
What
like-
Orcus FTK?
Yeah. You're talking about the Psychic Stein.
Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, I was
We saw that.
aware of that combo, but I hadn't seen it being used. Is there any way to actively search the equip or the field?
I mean, you can always search equip spells.
Power Tool Dragon, play 3.
Yikes.
John McKell asks, is there any deck which would surprise everyone at a YCS? The question is there any deck that would surprise everyone at a YCS and actually do well? That's
More
the
than
important
Grand Magi.
I mean,
Grand Magi was pretty
Yeah.
I've been calling Gren Magi for a while.
Yeah,
I
Tom
don't
has
know
been
if you've
calling
been
Gren
watching
Magi.
these streams, but I've
As he sits there
No.
while Tom says it.
I've been telling you the whole time Grand Magi was going to do something.
I could see Noble Knights performing reasonably well. No, legitimately, all of the like control decks are like super weak at the moment, and 1800 meters with a sword goes up to like 2300, gain 500 life points. Punch.
You can't
So-
win
You win
against
in
them
time.
if they don't do anything anyway.
Exactly.
Here's the deal with this kind of question. It's really difficult to answer because the person who has the answer to this of the deck that will surprise everyone and do really well probably isn't going to say it pre the YCS.
I don't know if people are still expecting Lunar Lights. Obviously, we've already talked about it, so it's known. But I think Lunar Lights could do very well.
Like,
Yeah.
surprise decks happen in formats which are like rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah.
Like, that's generally when they happen. Like, remember years back in like the Necros event, there was like the Mecha Phantom Beast player that topped one of the German YCSs.
Do you remember?
There
I think it
was-
was Bochum.
Mecha Phantom Orcust did really well at Portland. There was a guy playing triple O Lion and a couple of Tether Wolf, but he was on 60 cards.
Somebody
he had
is waiting for.
He had his
Needle
Machina cards in there. He was doing everything. I had a lot of time for that pile of cards. It inspires me.
I have seen that list.
I
It
think
is a fun
there's
list.
a lot of space for kind of like innovative and unique decks in the format.
Yep.
But because the format is so broad, there's nothing that is going to be like, oh my goodness, we never saw this coming, because everything's playable. At the
Yeah,
moment.
I think that's part of it as well.
Are we ever going to get the Goki Orcus deck list?
Um,
What Goki Orcus deck
So
list?
I know there was one at Portland that the guy didn't want to release.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And I don't know what it was like, but I have seen Goki Orcus previously. I have theoried it a lot. I'm assuming he is literally just making Appaloosa before he goes into combo,
Yeah.
and then he just has Appaloosa to stop any hand traps. And if he gets hand trapped before then, he has a rematch. So he just combos.
So Isolde is a good card.
Who
And
knew?
you know what deck? Isolde is really good at.
Goki.
Goki, yes.
No. Neville Knights. Goki just let me extend into my Neville Knights.
Oh, no.
And with the destruction of the spirits of my teammates, we are going to call that an evening. Thank you all very much for joining us. We're sorry again about the delay. We will be back to normal schedule Monday next week, where it will be myself and Tom over Skype.
No other friends?
We might have Alec.
Until you decide to book a lot.
We'll start inviting friends. Once I'm in Canada, we will be doing the 3 p.m. stream, and I might also do a later stream in the day if I can get in guest speakers, because I know that for viewers from the US, it is currently like, 4 p.m. on the close coast and like 2 p.m. on the far coast.
Yeah, so most people at work.
Yeah.
We hear you.
But yeah, if you have any thoughts on this, please do let us know. If you have any thoughts on the Brotherhood videos, let us know about those too. If you'd like to see more of that, please do tell us, because it's definitely something that we're happy to provide if it's of value to people.
Yeah, it should be pretty easy for us to get that all going. We just need to make sure we have enough data on the phones.
Yes, all of that was live streamed from my data plan. So,
Dan, you may need a bigger data plan.
We're gonna need a bigger boat.
with regards to vlogging events, it's certainly something we're considering. We don't have
kind of
anybody.
did.
We kind of vlogged this event, and I might grab the footage and like put it together, but I like have no editing skills. Yeah, we'll consider it, but it's a case of how many resources do we have. Thank you all very much for joining us. I've been Daniel.
We've all been us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
cool.
we're still the same people we were.
Bye.
Yeah, have a lovely evening, afternoon, morning,
Bye-bye.
Monday. Farewell. Oh, we weren't recording at all.